Okay, my name's Steve. I'm an electrician, and I've been a lecturer for the last couple of years. I've been struggling to help my students. Many of them are obviously coming along wanting to eventually work for themselves. And the biggest question is, where do you get work from? And obviously, our preference is that we'll get work by word of mouth, isn't it? And then obviously, then comes the question, how do you get work by word of mouth? So I put some thought into it and I realised there's two things, isn't there? Essentially, we've got to be, number one, a good electrician, good at our jobs, haven't we? And then the other thing is we've got to look like a professional company, be a trustworthy company that people can believe in and trust their money with. And so I got to thinking about it and I decided what we need to do is create a proper paperwork system. And so I went through all of the information I've ever had over the years and I tried to put it all together into one file. And this is what I figured out. Essentially, when you put it all together, every single job should consist of, at the start, a survey. A survey meaning more than just giving the property a coat of looking at or giving the job a coat of looking at. What it means is a proper in-depth look at the property to see if the work that the customer wants is possible for you to do or not. Following the survey, you've got to do a quote. Now, the quote is for you. The quote is for you or the electrician to put together exactly how he plans on dividing up his time between first fix and second fix and creating a materials list and a design and everything that goes in with it. That's the quote. That is yours. What you give to the customer is not a quote. What you give to the customer is a work order. Essentially, what they're doing is purchasing a service from you. And so, what you're actually giving to them is a work order that they can pass to you so you can start doing the work for them. After you've done the work order, you've got job completion. In other words, sign off to make sure the customer agrees that the work that you've done is what they expected, followed by an invoice and then a receipt. Now, a receipt is part of leaving a good impression. We make a good impression, don't we, at the start when we do our survey and we do a prompt quote and work order. We make a good impression when we do a good job and we're trustworthy and turn up on time. And we leave a good impression by giving a receipt. And finally, obviously, we need to put a work certificate together. So that's the system I'm thinking of. And there are three different versions of it for additions, alterations, and new work. So I've put all those into three separate spreadsheets. And I'd like to go through them and see what you think. The work starts, and it's going to be the same with every single one. They all start with a survey. Right, this is one of the things where most people starting out will go to a property and they'll give it a coat of looking at. Whereas in reality, what we should be doing is a full survey of the property to check what exists before we start adding to it. All right. So looking at it, obviously, first section we need the client's details and the work location if it's different to where the client lives. Then we want to go and have a look at the supply and the main intake. We want to check if it's check the ZE value, check the earthing system, check that it's got bonding. Because obviously these are things that we can't go doing work on a property if it doesn't have good readings at the supply. Moving on, if that's all okay, it's okay to proceed. Yeah, okay. So looking at the job we're going to do, is it an alteration or an addition, or is it a new install? Obviously we can do all of those. What's the estimated age of the property? So we can see there. It's hard to guess the age of a property or the age of an installation, but if it's got green sleeve on the earth, then chances are it's pre-1997. If it's red and black with green and yellow sleeve, chances are it's 77 to 2004. And if it's brown and blue, then it's post 2004. And we have a good idea if we want to start messing with installation based on its age, can't we? Is the work notifiable or not? Because obviously, if you're just starting out, you may not be registered to do notifiable work. So we want to recognise that one there. Special locations, again, if it's notifiable, if it's a special location, it's notifiable, so we need to be careful of that. Got domestic, commercial, or industrial. And is there any damage to the system that exists already before we're going to go and start altering it? So that's the installation or the job we're going to do. Looking at the circuit, because if it's an alteration, we need to consider the circuit we're going to alter. So you've got to take the details of the circuit you're going to alter. Is it power, look with 5% volt drop, or is it lighting, which would be a 3% volt drop. What power is the installation currently before you're going to go adding to it? So I've put in 300 watts there. You can put literally anything you want in there. Let's say 700 for lights. That'll automatically update the current for the circuit. What's the length of the circuit? Right, all these different bits of information here are going to help us decide if we are able to add to that installation. So we need to do a few little tests on the circuit before we start to make sure that we're not going to, that the current circuit is suitable to be added to again. So we want to check the actual ZS of the installation. Now you can get that from measurement, or you can do an R1, R2 and add it to the ZE that you recorded earlier. If it's a ring, make sure it's still a ring before you go adding to it, and check your insulation resistance. Now, I personally don't like to add to anything where the insulation resistance is less than 20 mega ohms. And now that's not a number I've picked out here. That comes from Guides Note 3 for new installs. But obviously that's up to you at what you're prepared to work to. Now, okay, you're happy with the circuit, you're happy to add to it all. Look around the property while you're there for wiring routes that already exist. Does it have a good loft space? If you're in a bungalow, brilliant, loads of loft space, but then is it boarded? Is that going to cause you problems? Floorboards, can you go under the floor, or is it concrete floor? Boxed in sections, often there's a riser above the fuse board, isn't there, where you can put cables? Is the conduit or trunking or tray? I've not put tray in yet. But do these things exist to help you install your cables, and are you able to actually add to those things without causing more problems with the installation that already exists? Right, so that's a full survey as far as I can gather it. Obviously, you could add more to that, but how long do you want a survey to be? The intention of the survey is that as you get used to doing more and more jobs, these surveys are going to get quite repetitive. And a lot of the time, you can literally copy an old one and just adjust it for new jobs. So hopefully, although it looks long-winded, this stage of your relationship with a customer will make you look a whole lot more professional than the next bloke coming along. So after you've done your survey, you've got your quote. Right, now your quote, obviously, we need to really consider the quote, because a lot of people do price per point. And while it's a reasonable system, the problem I've got with price per point is that you don't know when you're in profit and when you're not in profit. It's as simple as making a materials list. You may take a materials list for everything you're going to install, the price per meter or the price per unit of things you're going to install, and then your quantity. I've got an example here of replacing a light fitting. I'm just going to delete this row for fault diagnosis, because that was me showing somebody how you can add time to your jobs. So basically, what we've got here is a damaged light fitting and replacement of the cables connected to that light fitting. So I'm assuming it was overloaded in some way or damaged by rats or whatever was in the bit of the ceiling. So we got 1.5mm twin cable at £1 a meter and 10 meters of that cable. Plus we got one light fitting, £35 for the light fitting, 600 be 600, and we got one of those. So your materials straightforward, right? You got your 10 quid for your meter for your cable, and you got your 35 quid for your light fitting. It's the time that we want to really work on here. So what I like to do is price time per meter for your first fix and time per termination for your second fix. And obviously you can't predict the future, but what we can do is have a look at the total time based on your time per meter and time per termination. And you can say yes or no to the total time if you can do it in that time or not. So looking down here, I've put in time per meter and time per termination. Now, straight away, based on those two values there, I've calculated total time for this job's 3.5 hours. Right, now, with that, I can change that. If I don't like that, if I think it's going to take longer than 3.5 hours, I can change my first fixed time to say half an hour per meter. That knocks it up to 5 hours. And if I think it's going to take me longer than 20 minutes or less than 20 minutes, let's say it's 10 minutes to terminate it, that automatically changes the price as well. Or sorry, the time on the job. So I've got 5 hours at £35 an hour, plus your materials, plus your overheads, and then you want your business profit as well. So that total job comes to 280 quid. Notice there I've got times 1.2, that's your 20% for your business profit. This -1 is the round up, so it's rounding the price up rather than down. to 280 quid, because we want to give a nice round number to the customer, don't we? That puts me total business profit at 50 quid. We've got to put that to one side. That's for your business to grow. You got your overheads. That's covering like your van, your insurance, and your tools, all those kind of costs. And you got your materials down there. We need to separate those values off. So you know you can pay yourself for that job £155. That's what you can put in your bank account to do that job. That's based on £35 an hour. Now, obviously, you might be saying, oh, what more than 155 quid? Okay, great. Change £35 to £40 an hour, and you're 180 quid for that job now. Now, there's a good chance you'll actually get that job done in the morning, not in a full day. Again, if you don't like that, you can up it. You can charge whatever you like. You make sure this price suits you, but always make sure you're putting aside your business profit, your overheads, and your materials. Now, I've also added to this conveniently the price I would pay somebody else to do this job. Now, this is your job. You pay yourself the top whack, don't you? But if you're paying somebody else, an approved electrician, somebody on a price job, well, you might give him £30 an hour. Right, that means you're giving him 155 quid to do that job. You can tell him that price, send him on his way, and you never have to pay him anymore. If you're paying somebody on the books, well, you're not going to pay him the same price as you're going to pay somebody else, because he may go overtime and you've still got to pay him more money to go overtime. So you're going to drop his wages a little bit, aren't you? So he'd be on £25 an hour, giving him 130 quid. That pushes your business profit up if he can do the job in that time. And if it's a new fella, well, you might say, I've never tested you before. I'm going to test you on this job. You're on 20 quid an hour until I know better. So that job, you'd have to pay him £103, but it might go over that. So your business profit goes up if he's good. You're happy with him, you can move him up the scale. So this is a full, proper quote where you know where you stand on that job. The work order is now automatically populated from the address and the job details that you've already put in. And down the bottom, you've got your price and your deposit and your bank details. Now you're putting your details in here and you're asking for a deposit so that you know they have your bank details and you know that they're a paying customer. That is now called a work order. I don't call these quotes because with the work order that you've got there, the customer, you're telling the customer what they need. They tell you what they want, you tell them what they need. They're now ordering from you the service that you're providing. So it's not really a quote, it's a work order. You don't want them to see your quote because that's got a lot of details in it that are unnecessary for the customer. They just want to know the total price and what they need to do to get you booked for the job. So that there is not a quote, it's a work order that they can put into you. So you've got your minor work, so your survey and your quote, they're the big deal, those two. Right? Once you do them properly and you know where you stand and you know how long you got for the job, you know if you've got business profit, you know your overheads are covered with that job. The work order, they sign, send back to you. At the end of the job, you've got your job completion. Get them to tick to say that the job is done properly. Any notes underneath it, if they say no, if you've not done something how they expect, they'll tell you no then. You can all sort out any issues at this point on the job completion. If they decide to say yes, they're happy with all the work that you've done, you can move to the invoice. And all the invoices is the total price minus the deposit, isn't it? And they've already got your details. And down the bottom, you can say when you expect to be paid. Now, personally, once I put that invoice in, I expect to be paid as soon as possible, usually by the weekend. Now, you can give them 2 weeks, a month, whatever you want. You can agree with that with the customer, but they've got your bank details. If this is a person that you've just met or a person that you work that lives in a normal house, does a normal job, not a business customer, there's no reason why they shouldn't pay you straight away. Now, here's the thing, once they've paid you, they might be a little bit nervous about where that money's gone. Make sure that you've got that money. So once you've received that money, you send them a receipt. Send them a receipt. You can thank them for the work that they've given you. Thank them for paying promptly. Thank them for putting in the bank account. They're now confident that you've got the money and that the accounts are settled between you. Everybody's happy. And now they've got not one, but two. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of information from you that give them all your details that they can pass on to other customers. Notice on there, should you require any further assistance in future, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We look forward to hearing from you again. It's a thank you, nice message for them. Leaves a nice impression from the end of the job. Now, obviously, From the survey, the good thing about doing the survey and the quote, although it's long-winded, is all the rest of this is automatically populated for you, including most of your minor work certificate. Now, I know most of you don't like to do certificates for small jobs like replacing sockets, replacing lights, but since this is mostly populated for you, personally, I think you should really be doing one for every single job. Not only is it good to do for their records, for your customers' records, it also makes you look more professional and more trustworthy, doesn't it? Again, we're looking for word of mouth here, aren't we? So our certificate is what we're using to show them that we're better than the next bloke. All we'd have to do, notice most of this is populated for you, and I've obviously used gibberish for most of this, but you're going to fill these in on previous certificates or previous documentation, the client details. So that is populated. Notice from the work order, the date is populated from the job completion. The description's populated from the work order. You've got test results down here, or say test results, test information that comes from the minor work survey, or circuit information, sorry. All this information coming from previous documents you've already filled in. All you've really got to do is complete the blanks, put in your NAs where there's an NA, put in a new R1, R2 for the new job after you've adjusted it, put in your new ring final results, put in your new IR tests. Once you put in a couple of different test results, this should not take you very long at all to complete. And it's that little bit of extra that makes you look better than the next bloke. So in summary then, what I've done is I've created a spreadsheet that I intend to use for my students to teach them once they have finished becoming, qualified as electricians, they can use this paperwork system to make themselves look professional on the job and win work by word of mouth. That's what I hope for it. And basically, to summarize it all, what I'm trying to encourage them to do is to create a good impression right at the start by doing a survey, a full proper survey. Then doing a quote with the proper timings on it, proper information on it for the, so you know where you stand. Doing a work order for the customer. So you're creating a good impression at the start. Then you're making a good impression, obviously, by doing a good job. And you're leaving a good impression by doing a complete job completion, showing the customer you care about what they think of the work you've done, by giving them a proper invoice and a receipt to say thank you for the work and please recommend me to your friends. And then obviously a certificate for every job just makes you look that much more professional. So you're creating a good impression, making a good impression, and leaving a good impression. And all being well, you'll be showing yourself to be a trustworthy tradesman. Now, obviously, that's for me, students. So I'd be grateful if anybody got any feedback for me on things that I could possibly add to this, or maybe you think I've gone too far on certain parts. But anyway, I'd be grateful for your opinions. What I can also do, by the way, if you're interested, I could make some videos to show you how I've actually done these spreadsheets. Like I say, I've done it for minor works. I've done it for additions, alterations, and I've done it for additions, and I've done it for new work as well. I've also done a design spreadsheet, which I've demonstrated in an extra section at the end. So if you're interested in having a look and see what I've done, and you're interested in me doing a few more videos on it, just let me know. All right, thanks. Just so you know, I've got another couple that I did. So we've got additions. Additions are a bit more complex. Obviously, the survey is going to include what actually exists in the property, checking the maximum demand, checking that you're not overloading the supply. But other than that, it's very, very similar in the survey. The quote, same, work order, job completion, all the same. The difference here will be the certificate's going to be an installation certificate now. Check details. Now, I know in here you've got your survey, right, or your schedule inspections, but that is a shortened version from this, isn't it? From the regs. So really, you should be going through that one before you complete the other one. Anyway, test details, circuit details, and test results, right? And most of this can be automatically completed from the survey because we put it in here and automatically complete there. So it makes your life a lot easier if you've done it all at the start, doesn't it? And because you're looking professional, it's all done. Obviously now, if it's a new install, we've got this one, which is pretty much the same as the additions. Same quote, same work order, same job completion, and same test results and circuit details. But obviously the difference here is you're doing a whole job. This is your design here now, right? Now, when you're looking at your design, you've got to consider where your design comes from. And you've got a choice. You can either go to the regs and do a full design for each circuit, or you go to your on-site guide and you can look at those values there. Now, I've actually done this. So here, these are all your options for a radial circuits. So if you've got if you're going to use your standard 60898s, where are they? Type B. Okay, we can narrow that list down to all those. We're looking at a fuse size. If it's for a garage or something where you want, say you want something large, say you're doing a workshop, you want a 40 amp fuse. There you go. There's your options. You can use 6, 10 or 16 mil, but you've got a maximum length on those, haven't you? Maximum length in meters, 46, 72, 118, depends how far away it is, and your installation methods for doing it. Now, bear in mind, these tables are for flat profile cables, nothing else. That's for lighting, that's for ring finals as well. But it's all there, simple design for single cables on their own in flat profile. It's not really supposed to be for steel wire armoured. You should really be doing a full design for that. Though, I've actually done this one as well. I've done this for my students. So here, you can put in the power, the length of the circuit, type of cable, type of fuse, reference method, all your correction factors all worked out for you. Look, see if I click that one, it'll go to 1. If we click this one for 3036, we'll get a 0.725, and this will automatically calculate your circuit's details. So your size of your line, your size of your earth. If you're over the maximum length for volt drop, 40 meters, then it'll automatically calculate a larger size cable for you as well. Which then, obviously, looking at that's a bit complex, isn't it? So we can put that into our circuit details there. This is easily readable for almost any spark, right? Any useful spark will understand those details there. Down here is a little description of everything you've said, right? If we change anything up here, by the way, if we change, for instance, what can we change? The type of wiring, we can change from type F to type C, whatever we want, and it'll automatically update this. For the type of cable, thermoplastics and non-metallic conduit, automatically update. And these are the design test results, not the actual test results. So this is what I would give to a spark to say, check your values against the design values. So that's what I've created for my students to be able to use on their daily jobs. I'm hoping that completes all the paperwork. All we'd have to do with any of those things is file and save as PDF or print as a PDF, and that's the job done.